Everyone. In this video, I want to show everything that's new in Cortex 2.3. Cortex 2.3 was released at the beginning to middle of August of 2025, uh, and has a lot of new features, not so much for the Cherwell archiving side of things, but for our email monitor tool and our automation platform. And I'm going to show all three of those things in this video today. Um, and we'll have some more features for not just Cherwell archiving, but some other archiving platforms in future versions of Cortex. So stay tuned for those. Stay tuned for the additional release videos. Now, Cortex 2.3 is available from our download site. There's actually links down in the video description below on how to get that downloaded, get that installed, and see it on your Cherwell data, or if you're interested in the email monitoring and automation side of things, get that connected to your Halo instance or any other uh, ITSM tool that we integrate with at any point in time, including anything that has a REST API. So if it has a REST API, we can integrate with it. It might not be as turnkey as, for instance, our Halo integration, but we built this platform to be able to integrate with potentially any platform that you might want to use any of the functionality with. So with that being said, I'm just going to go kind of rapid fire through the different things that we added in Cortex 2.3. Let's switch over to the demo and fill my screen. There we go. And we're just going to go through the list. So first off, we started integrating Cortex with uh, other systems so that you could see your Cherwell data in your new ITSM system. We actually did a whole video about that for GLPI, for Halo, and for ServiceNow. Um, there are additional licensing requirements depending on how many users you plan on seeing all of that data, because it kind of breaks out of the traditional archiving, audit, compliance use case. And there are a few more resources that need to be accounted for in doing that. But as an example, here we have a ticket in Halo, which has been opened by John, a user that you'll recognize from the Cherwell demo content. And over here, we have a tab that is called Cortex Archive, and it just pulls in all of John's tickets that is in Cherwell. Now, you might recognize this screen as actually being a Cortex screen, and that is 100% accurate. This is basically an iframe of Cortex, of a very specific endpoint within Cortex that you can configure. All of this is configurable within Halo. Again, we have videos all about that for Halo, ServiceNow, and GLPI, how to do that in those systems. Now, what else did we add to uh, this system? Well, one thing that I can't show you in this demo system, just simply because it's not enabled, is because it's experimental. We're playing around with dashboards. So people use dashboards in Cherwell, not just as a way to display data, but as a way to navigate around the system. So we've started playing around with some of the things that you can do with dashboards there. If you do want to enable this experimental feature, reach out to us and we'll show you how to enable it. It is not enabled by default because there are still some rough edges. You know, again, some of the data visualizations just aren't supported quite yet. Possibly they won't be ever, but I don't want to make a promise one way or the other. If you have specific interests in seeing Cherwell dashboards in your Cortex instance, let us know. Send us an email, book some time on my calendar, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you want to see on Cherwell dashboards. And then in addition to that, we also fixed a couple bugs. Some things didn't show up in exactly the right place. Um, Text wasn't aligned properly on the left or the right in some places, and then some things with ownership clauses. Um, and with that, that's basically everything that we did for the Cherwell archiving side of things. Now, let's take a look at our email monitor and automation platform. Now, starting with the email monitor, we have in our mailbox authentication section, if, let's see, we want to edit this one, which is an IMAP connection, we added a always trust SSL certificate option there. Now, if you're using an IMAP server that's publicly accessible, you should probably have a valid SSL certificate, but sometimes these are difficult to configure, and sometimes they might expire, and or you might just need to kind of be very permissive for testing. So that's a handy setting. In this case, this is our dev system, so we don't actually have a valid certificate. It's kind of a snake oil certificate. So that's very helpful for us. We also added some improvements kind of behind the scenes to help some of our conversation and email matching logic. So if we go into monitors and we'll go edit this one. If I go into the mailbox that we're choosing, right, customer that we're picking, and so on and so forth. If we go into a rule, and in this case, add a follow-up, we need to do some matching on a ticket. Of course, I can match based on pieces of the actual email. In Cortex 2.2, I believe we added this update record based on conversation threads. That was one of the big things we added for that version. Some of the logic behind the scenes, we've just kind of streamlined it and made it work a little bit better, a little bit more performant in 2.3. We also added support for um, attachments. So if an attachment is present on an email, when we create a record, we can actually, there's a checkbox where we can include copy of any attachments. Uh, in addition to that, we can store the ID of the created record in a variable. And what this does is basically provide some feedback to the email monitoring action so that if you need to send an API request and use that ID, or maybe you want to store that ID, somewhere else in another system, perhaps you actually have that ID that you can use to do whatever you want with. Just stores it in a variable, one of these variables that you could use in a subsequent step. Obviously, this is a fairly simple action, so I don't have any variables, but those two options are brand new in Cortex 2.4. Sorry, Cortex 2.3. Let's see, what else? We have some improvements to the HTML email body. Um, we're able to see that in some places. So there's some places where you might be able to see, for troubleshooting. In this case, it looks like everything has been processed, but in some cases, you might want to see the actual email that came in. And if there's an HTML email body, you can see the HTML body alongside the plain text body and see, if something didn't get processed correctly. Or if it did, you just might want to see the email body there. Now, data sources, we've added some functionality here. Of course, with our relationship with GLPI, it was a natural fit for us to add support for GLPI as a data source. So we have a new GLPI data source. You may have also noticed when I scroll to the bottom, there's support for an LDAP data source. So you can connect to an LDAP directory and you can see all of the objects that are in that directory. And you can actually use this as a data source in Cortex Actions to either populate new items in your ITSM system, effectively migrate, kind of import users or groups or something like that. And you can also just use it as a viewer for LDAP that is a little bit easier. I don't think I have an LDAP system set up on this particular instance, but if I go over to browse, I can actually look at, let's say, my Halo instance, and I can see all of the different ticket types. It takes a second to refresh, but if I go over to incident, it'll go off and grab all of the incidents in my Halo system. It will page them, and I can browse all of the data in whatever data sources I have connected to Cortex. So, and I can also um, double click, and it will pull in all of the information. And here are all of the fields that are pulled in from Halo, which is basically the entire record, including any attachments. Let's see, what else did we add? Right, attachments, browsing the data, GLPI, LDAP. We also added support for users and assets in Halo data source. So in addition to these ticket types, we actually have assets. I don't know that I have any assets in our test instance, but it's kind of a special table. It looks like I do. It's kind of a special table. It's not a ticket type. It's kind of its own little endpoint. Um, and we've just added that to our built-in implementation, our built-in integration with Halo. And that's pretty much everything uh, with browsing of data sources. There is this search box. It's not supported with all data sources. That will be supported with all data sources in Cortex 2.4. So I'll show that in the Cortex 2.4 demo. Now, when we get to actions, which are kind of like a spin-off from um, the Cortex Mail Monitor. This is kind of like the one-step functionality in Cherwell, um, and it's a bit more flexible than just what you would find from a mail monitor. Basically, you can start with a data source record, or you don't have to have a data source record to start with. Uh, you can run actions. You can run arbitrary functionality, essentially arbitrary code. It's a no code interface, just like the Cortex Mail Monitor. Um, but we've added a bunch of new options here as well that you might also see in the Cortex Mail Monitoring side of things. But they're also here in actions. So I'm just going to edit one of the ones that I already have here, which in this case, it actually pulls from email, but it's kind of on demand. So I'm using my email as a data source because I want to run this on demand, not as part of an actual mail monitor. Uh, but if I go to per record steps, and let's just add a new action. So we've added reauth to a data source. So just in case maybe your authentication token is expiring and there's no automatic way for either our integration with the system um, to uh, refresh that token, you can manually say just re-authenticate with the data source. Just all the same information that you've already provided. Just hit the authentication endpoint and get a new authentication token just to make sure that all of the rest of the API calls are going to succeed. Um, what else do we have? So we've added some uh, items to modifiers. So if I go over to, let's just pick some stuff here. My bad. I have to create a variable. Let's update a variable, right? So I could specify modifiers. We have a bunch of different options here, text after, text before, so on and so forth. We added remove text, which is essentially the same as um, there's a if X then Y, which is essentially replacing text. So find this text and replace it with something else. If X then Y, you can replace something with something else. And if you don't specify something else, it just removes it. But we have a special remove text, so you just specify the text to remove, and it takes that out of the initial value. I already showed this before, but if you do a create a record, so uh, create a yeah, here it's called create a business object. We have include copy and store ID of the created record in a variable so that then you can use it later on. right? So here, record ID, and then I don't think it's going to show up here because obviously I'm creating it in this step. It'll show up on subsequent steps. I'm actually not going to save that because I am using this action. And let's see. Other than that, we've fixed a couple bugs, and we're also starting to build out kind of this home page. So if you're using Cortex with an archive system, you get kind of a base search page for Cherwell. Something similar will be coming for ServiceNow and for some of the other systems that we have under development. Um, but if you aren't connected to an archive system, we needed something to put on the homepage. So we're kind of building out a basic dashboard, and eventually this will be customizable as well. Right now, it just shows information about the um, email monitor. If you're not using email monitoring, obviously this won't be particularly helpful to you, um, but that's why we're making it more flexible and configurable, so that you can see some of those other options. Aside from that, we've made some kind of general stability and performance improvements and a couple kind of general security enhancements, um, just to make the platform more stable, better, uh, just work a little bit better in general, um, and set us up for additional improvements and additional features that we'll be putting into Cortex 2.4. Now, this video is not a product roadmap video. I will do one of those because we've actually kind of planned out our next several releases over the course of probably the rest of the year at least. So I will do a video showing off our product roadmap and what we have planned for at least Cortex 2.4 and 2.5. Some of the additional features that we're looking to do beyond that might not necessarily go, we might not necessarily know which specific releases they will go into at this point in time. Maybe we'll go straight to 3.0 after 2.5. Maybe there will be a 2.6, a 2.7, and we'll keep with the 2.x line. We're not sure. We just have features that we want to build to mostly support requests that we've heard from you all, the community, our customers. Um, and the best way to let us know about the things that you want to see is leave a comment down below under this video or reach out to us. There's links down in the video description for how to contact me, how to schedule time on my calendar, those sorts of things. Talk to me and tell me what you're looking for out of Cortex. A lot of our product roadmap is driven by the needs of the community. Both folks who have started on Cherwell and are moving on to other systems, or just moving on to some of the systems that we already work with. Um, we're only scratching the surface of what we can do in this space, and there's a lot that we can do, but we want to prioritize the things that you all need sooner. Um, in addition to that, we also have a users group that we host every Tuesday at, let's see, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Um, and I think that's a Teams meeting right now. So 10 a.m. Pacific time, we talk about Cortex. We talk about some of the other stuff that we've been working on. Sometimes we show off early versions of some of the features that we're working on that aren't in the released stable versions yet. So you can get a sneak peek behind the scenes of what's coming next. Or you can ask questions, you can give feedback. It's a great opportunity to talk to us, to talk to other people who are using Cortex. Um, and the bigger that gets, the better it gets. You don't have to show up all the time, but if you have the time, and especially if you have questions about Cortex or have feedback about Cortex, definitely show up. We'd love to have you. It's a great conversation, and it just pushes everything forward. If that either that time doesn't work for you, or you don't really enjoy that sort of format, we also have a Discord server. That is also linked down below. Both of those things are linked down below. You can join us on Discord and tell us all the same things. It's just a different format for essentially the same discussion. Sometimes we post short little videos of things that we're actively working on. So you get some of that behind the scenes sneak peek in Discord that we would also do kind of live in the Cortex users group. Um, but either format, both formats, you're welcome to join us. We'd love to have you. And if you have any questions or want to schedule a demo, there's information down in the video description below as well. And if you want to see more like this and all of the videos that we have on the channel, sometimes we talk about GLPI, sometimes we talk about Cortex, sometimes we talk about general stuff going on in IT and IT operations and ITSM. So just the things that are on our mind that we're trying to solve for the community. Do subscribe to the channel so that you'll get notified when a new video comes out. And of course, hit like. It helps the algorithm. It helps bring this to all of the other folks who are using Cherwell, using email in the ITSM world. Get to see all of our content and get to know about Cortex. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.